This podcast is brought to you by buzzsprout.com. Launch a podcast today. Easy to use, simple uploads, free promotional tools, full statistics, packages, and more. Started over 16,000 podcasts, connect to any device, and helpful support.
Stats are for losers.
That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is.
You play to win the game.
Welcome to the Airin podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the first episode on the Airing It Out podcast, and as one of my first guests, I have here Brandon Rose.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, we're gonna go right in and check the climate of the NFL. Right. So first of all, I wanted to give you congratulations for your Chiefs team winning the whole thing and making Patrick Mahomes for sure the MVP of the Super Bowl, which makes a lot of sense. If it wasn't for him, maybe you can give Tyreek the co. No, I can't give Tyreek. I think you got to give it to Sammy, right? The co. If you were gonna hand out
co-MVP, I think Damian Williams would have got that. He had a really, really nice game. When I watched the replay, I felt like he got robbed for Super Bowl MVP. But when I watched the regular game, and I mean, even the quarterback always gets the MVP in the Super Bowl.
Facts.
You know,
unless you're, what was it, Dion?
I was about to say Dion Branch got a Super Bowl MVP. The year after, he had a better game. And in that game, the Panthers game, sorry.
Okay. No, don't worry about it.
In the Panthers game, he made every big play for the Patriots. You know, it's not just the statistics. Statistics are meaningful, but he made the catch that set up the winning kick.
You talking about in the Panther Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, Dion Branch.
I got to go back
really
and watch that. That was like a great Super Bowl that I ended up working and never really revisited.
That really was a great Super Bowl. And Brady threw a pick on the second to last drive at the goal line. That was like what are you doing?
He does that. He does that. He has these epic throws and these epic plays, but for some reason, sometimes I don't know if it's a miscommunication or whatever the case.
It does, dude. It happens to every one of them where they just.
It happens to me too, bro. I get so happy, and this is coming from a video game athlete where I'm like, okay, I need a slant right there, and you don't see the linebacker fall back, or maybe the DB took the inside route and then pick city.
Or maybe there's just a 6'9", 312-pound, very angry human coming to crush your head. And you know, if I get rid of this ball, he can't touch me.
True story. So at least if you're Tom Brady, if you're Cam Newton, they're gonna touch you all the time, no matter what.
Yeah, I just feel so mad for Cam Newton.
I do too.
After what he showed us, he had the ability to do. And the lack of protection he received from the officiating, it's inexcusable.
It's unbelievable, to be honest with you. But also, too, let's think about this, right? Is this something where it's a circumstance situation because no one has ever seen a man like that, right? Like, we could go back and maybe look at Randall Cunningham and see how many no calls he received. But that back then the game was harder, right? So like they didn't have.
You got hit back then when you were running. There weren't protections.
I asked Ron Jaworski about that, right? Like, so it didn't matter if you were mobile or not mobile.
No,
you got hit.
And you know, your head was part of what they tackled.
Facts. 100%.
It's part of his body. You know,
so now they're trying to keep it, which was weird to me this year. In all of the rule-saving situations, we had so many backups play this year. So if you're thinking you're trying to save a guy, right? They didn't really save too many dudes because a lot of guys still got hit and still got knocked out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Breeze's was kind of silly where he kind of thumped his finger on a helmet, but that might be due to his size.
Well, that's probably one of the most common quarterback. I mean, it's a hard helmet.
100%. And I don't think, these guys are moving so fast and everything's happening so quickly.
I'm surprised there aren't more injuries when the quarterback is in the motion of throwing and he gets hurt.
I agree.
Because there's ligaments and things pulling and pushing, and then there's a you're basically getting hit by a small car.
Well, getting back to the Cam not getting the love, it's interesting to see how some of these quarterbacks now, like the whole new wrap and tackle kind of deal, right? I mean, I hope you get the heads up kind of approach to tackling now, which wasn't before, and now you can't really like demolish a quarterback.
You can't really demolish anybody anymore.
So, I mean,
I think the coaches need to make an adjustment for the way that the game's being called now, because I don't feel like they're trying to make enough changes to go with the rules, because guys are still trying to make big hits. And I got to tell you, dude, big hits nowadays, if it could be a perfect form tackle, and if you hit the guy too hard, they're going to throw a flag.
but then again, like I said, poor Cam, he doesn't really get or hasn't had the benefit of that. So we don't know. Is it a mobile thing? Is it like what everybody kind of talks about, whispery? Is it a minority, kind of thing where he's not getting the love? I mean, I think I've heard refs and him say personally, you're too young to get that call, right? So maybe it's a veteran thing, right? So like you got to play 10 years in the NFL at QB to get a good call.
So Cam, in 2016 going into 2017, I was watching a talk show. They were talking about Cam, and then they had mentioned that there hadn't been a roughing the passer penalty on Cam since 2014.
Wow.
And the thing that really upsets me about this is, I mean, I know Cam is a very tall, imposing figure. I know he runs aggressively, but his demeanor has never been aggressive.
Right.
Or scary.
No.
Whatsoever. It has always been honest, and it has always been very, very pleasant.
I would even say playful at sometimes, right? Because he takes big hits and he'll smile coming back up, right? Like, good job, bud.
So although he is imposing by stature, his demeanor is that of your play cousin, your little cousin that just kept growing and growing and growing
Right.
and growing and growing. That'll pick you up over his head and tickle you when you're a grown ass man, So, and I'm watching the Super Bowl when they're playing Denver, and he's in the middle of a 50 touchdown passing season.
MVP.
And running the ball for I don't know how many yards. Sorry,
But at least closer to 1,000,
it
which
had
is
to be
crazy.
like 800,
Right.
something like
That's
that.
a lot.
Durable throughout the entire season. 50 touchdowns. I'm sure it was less than 20 interceptions. And on the first big play of the game, when number 52 from the guy with the goggles.
I
can't believe I forgot his name. Thank you.
Von Miller, of course.
When Von Miller gets that first sack, the first contact he has is with Cam Newton's face.
Was that the fumble?
That was the
Right?
fumble.
When the first play from
The
scrimmage, I
fumble,
think, right?
When they picked up the ball and ran it in for a touchdown. That should have been a roughing the passer play. Because the first thing it hit right in the face, just slapped him dead in the fucking face. Ooh, pardon me.
No. You're good. You're good.
okay.
Don't worry about it. We're not that PC, bro.
Yeah. I mean, just slapped him right in the face, and there was no call. And then there was another play right before the half in that same game where Cam Newton was hit way after the ball was gone, and he turns to the ref like, dude, what the fuck? And the ref's like, whatever. And I just think that the NFL doesn't like Cam Newton because of his flamboyance.
I agree. I also think he came in with a tall pedigree. A lot of people don't really talk about it, but leaving college with that whole scandal, right? So now you got some guy, these guys. That's the thing, right? The refs are human, right? And so they're gonna have bias. No matter what, it's so hard to not have a bias, right? Because we do. We
Everyone
listen to
has
these
a
stories,
bias.
right? We listen to these stories and you take a position, right?
Everyone, it's not possible to not be biased.
100%.
You always have. You can, when you say you're unbiased, you're saying you have a low level of bias. And one of the most difficult things I think as a person is to be able to take yourself out of a situation.
100%.
You know, that's really it's just
something
so
that I still
hard.
practice now, and it's very difficult.
Everyone has a
very,
tough
very
time
difficult.
seeing how other people see you.
100%.
You know?
So we got branch receiver gets that award, which you normally don't see too much, right? you got Cam. I think maybe the game was too big for him, but in a lot of ways for me, the game before that Super Bowl, he crushed Arizona. I think it was like 40-10, and then he rolls in.
He did not play a bad game in the Super Bowl. If you go back and you watch that game again, you're not going to be like, wow, Cam played a really shitty game. Now, the huge mental error he made, and believe me, it is not an idea of toughness. And anyone who says anything about toughness, I would go up to Cam and explain to him how tough he isn't. I fucking dare you.
Right.
You know,
to play quarterback.
like,
I mean, even like, where would we go? Even Kirk Cousins is tough, right? Like if I'm thinking like somebody who you think is like easy to stand there and take shots, like you said earlier, a 350 guy who's super excited.
And he's killing you, and you can't move because you got other shit going on. And to say it, but I don't understand. He's been trained to play quarterback so much that he wasn't playing football, and he didn't go for that ball that was on, because that's what you do when you play football is you go for the ball. You know, I always love to use that analogy when we're working at a restaurant. When there's something isn't done, someone comes in and they say, oh, well, who didn't do this? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, we're a team, dude.
Right.
So if I fumbled, if I were the receiver and I fumbled, would you come over and say, oh my God, would you look at that? The damn ball's on the ground.
Right.
Who fumbled this foot? Pick the fucking ball up.
Well, it's 11 guys, right? Everybody's responsible. I do, but at that, and it just came to me in a flash, he did look, I don't want to use the word nervous, but apprehensive to maybe go for it, right? So it kind of, I think also to bring my team into the fold, you know, they mic'd up my guy and he said he saw a ghost. When you start to get hit a lot, things start to happen. You start to second guess yourself, right? Like when you have sets and reps, right, and practice, it's supposed to become second nature.
You start to.
But once you start to get hit, you start to second guess your second nature, which is, of course, I gotta always do it. That's why Tom Terrific. You just gotta tip your cap to the guy because
and it hurts to get hit
a lot.
Like people don't think about that. Like it's a penalty.
Bro, I've been hit like with my friends, just fooling around, a blindside hit. And I've gotten hit so hard that I've dropped the ball by accident because the wind gets knocked out of you. Your momentum gets knocked out of you. Your thoughts get knocked out of you. Like you don't even know what's happening at this point. Life is not going according to plan.
You don't even know where the ground is.
No, not at all. So then bringing it back to Patty, would we give the to Sammy, or would you give the to
again? I think Damian Williams. Like I was saying, that's why I brought up Deion Branch. You know, is because every play that they really needed, and especially you look at the flying touchdown where he gets it over the pylon to take the lead. The fourth down play when they did the little curtsy or the little do-si-do. He's the guy running that ball, not only to get the first down, but to get a quarter of a yard away, not even from the goal line. You know, if his elbow hadn't hit, he gets in for the touchdown. The dagger touchdown that he scores off the left side, where he tells the offensive lineman, if you hold the blocks, I'm taking this shit to the house. And then he fucking does it.
True story.
And that's one thing, that's one of the biggest things about this Kansas City team, that the people in the country who don't watch it and don't follow the Chiefs don't understand that there is a belief amongst these players in themselves and in their abilities and in Patrick Mahomes to lead them that I have never seen from a football team before.
It's insane, bro. I mean,
it's real.
100%.
And it makes a huge difference that they believe that they can come back.
He's got magic, man. He's got unbelievable magic, bro. I mean, to do that, because I'm obsessed with stats and for whatever reason I get Rain Man, but to have 3 games of -10 to come back, I mean, that's impressive.
I've heard a lot of the criticism too, because, you know, people always are trying to bring people back to the pack. That's just human nature. I don't always think it's people trying to be assholes.
Right.
I think they're really trying to just say, just slow your roll a little bit. But they talk about, well, you shouldn't have been down 24 in the first place. All right, well, if you're watching the game, you realize that there was only maybe one drive that they got the ball on. One is a block punt for a touchdown. They play defense, and then there's a muffed punt.
We're talking about the Super Bowl?
No, we're talking about
Tennessee.
I'm sorry. I took for granted that everyone understood that
Right,
I was
right,
talking
right.
about
We gotta be clarity.
the 24-0 game. When they go down 24-0, the whole team builds that 24-0
Refresh my
deficit.
memory again. This is what game again? With 24-0?
The first game of the playoffs
Right,
when they're playing the Houston Texans,
man,
and and it was 24-0 at the very end of the first quarter, and then the Chiefs came back to score on their next 7 possessions. Yeah.
It's unbelievable, bro.
It really is.
To turn it around.
To say it out loud.
To turn it around like that.
And nobody talks about the fact that the defense got stops for the rest of the game.
They might not be a great defense, but they played when they needed to play.
They are a very decent defense.
For sure. And like I said, I when we talked on the phone, you got to give a lot of credit to Spagnuolo, man. I think that was and some of the offseason, pickups.
The GM went batshit crazy. If you're keeping baseball stats for this, he might have just hit. He had a big poppy postseason where his slugging was like 1750. He hit 800.
Who's this?
I'm saying with the GM.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, he killed it. It was really phenomenal.
Basically every string he pulled
worked.
hit.
Yeah.
Kareem's out the door. Sorry about your luck, homie.
Yeah.
Even
letting go of one of our favorite guys, letting go of Peters. I mean, that guy scores more TDs as a DB than most guys score as anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Marcus. I don't think he left Kansas City. I think he left because he was an anthem protester.
Yeah. I mean, look.
Excuse me. He was a protester during the anthem. He is not protesting the anthem. His protest is during the national anthem, which is why I call it a national anthem protest, which I should probably stop doing because it creates a false narrative.
I do. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. I got to check more of my stats on this. So this is not going to be 100% accurate, but I don't know how many dollars the NFL contributes to veterans, to the military, to any of these things for us to just parade around all of this stuff. Like, I feel like it's unnecessary. Like I told you the other day, I feel like baseball is more synonymous with
America's
patriotism,
pastime, absolutely,
than the NFL. The NFL
most certainly
is more of a gladiator sport. It's more like the UFC, right? It's kind of like a little bit. You don't have the nicest guys, let's say.
Well, it wasn't always like that.
Right. But I think, so when you go like to Dallas, right? And their quarterback who served back in the day, maybe that's where it started to come from. I feel like they have a lot of vets. No, I'm saying they have like vets that have come into the game.
I don't want to talk about propaganda on your.
No, not at all. It totally is. It looks like it.
Yeah, that's exactly
the average
what it
Joe.
is.
I see it as that, right?
Because they never used to do it, and I always felt like when I was at the ball game, I stood for the fucking national anthem. It was actually meant something that I learned that shit word for word when I was 10 years old watching the Red Sox in '86. That's how I learned the national anthem word for word. And I sang that shit every bar. But, that's enough for me.
I agree.
To the game. I don't need another patriotic song, or I don't need the soldiers to come out. Give
it's
them free
it looks like a
tickets.
stroke.
Yeah,
right?
Give them free tickets, but I'm here to watch the game,
Yeah,
dude.
I know. It was really annoying because the Super Bowl they like turn it up a level, right? Where you have maybe a former guy singing this and that, and everybody. I mean, they should go and start singing the Canadian.
And the whole world is watching.
Right,
So
right.
it's like great free American freedom. Yeah.
Right. So we don't want to dive into too much of that,
Yeah.
but it was really, really, really interesting to see how that team pulled it together 3 separate times and made it happen. I thought for me, the Tennessee game was a little bit more in their favor. I mean, Deshaun Watson is unbelievable. The defense for the most part of the Texans is really good. So for him to come back against them, I was like, wow. And then, you go against the Niners, who were just crushing fools, right? Defensively.
Well,
but then again, the NFC's weak sauce, technically.
Why don't we talk about all 3 of those playoff games very quickly?
Yeah. Right now, I'm watching. I wish I could show you. It's 21-0.
You could.
Yeah. I
You
turned
could
it
do it
around
like
here.
that. So, oh no, we can share it.
Yeah. I just didn't.
So in this game, when the Chiefs are playing the Texans right here, I will honestly say that there wasn't a point in this game where I said to myself, we have lost this football game. And part of the reason for that is, well, one, it was in the first quarter,
Right.
so if you're not an idiot,
Right.
and you have a team that scores 35 points a game, it's going to be a tall order to ask the defense to not allow 21 more, seeing that they've already allowed, 28 in the first period. But I didn't think the game was over. I certainly wasn't pleased. And, being a Chiefs fan, you've seen this a lot of times.
It was so funny. A lot of I don't know if it was this game. I kind of felt one of the games where it was very like Colts relative, right? Where you had Luck come back
I'm
that
telling
one game where you guys were like, it was sealed,
Yeah.
right? That was Alex's last year,
And,
right?
No, Alex had one more season, or maybe even 2 more seasons. Jamal Charles left that game on like the 3rd play of the game.
Yeah, that was. They've had some horrible luck.
concussion, yeah.
And Jamal Charles, speaking of speed demons, I mean, first of all, forget about the GM, right? These guys in the scouting department are just unreal. They always have the fastest guys because I think
Especially
Jamal Charles was
recently.
really fast too. He might have been Tyreek's speed.
Jamal Charles is the most underrated running back in the history of the NFL, and I will die on that fucking hill.
I just think that the injury, we would never.
Injuries.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That probably wouldn't.
To a slasher and a runner, and he still ended his career with the highest per carry average of any back in the history. And carrying the ball wasn't even what made Jamal Charles great. So that tells you
100%.
I'm telling you, if he doesn't make it into the fucking Hall of Fame, they shouldn't have one. Because think of what he did so well. He was as good of a pass blocking running back at like a 209.
Right. He wasn't a
205,
really thick dude.
like 5'9". Breakaway sprinter speed, slashing, tough running, not a lot of turnovers, catching the ball out of the backfield, just a weapon, and not only that, but in the history of the game, you can have Walter Payton, you can have Jim Brown, you give this ball and Jamal Charles is more likely to get you more running yardage than anyone in the history of the ball game. And he did everything else. He was probably the greatest Chief I have seen before Patrick Mahomes.
Wow. Even them. That's a shot at Priest. Come on.
Oh no, Priest Holmes was.
He had the nose for the end zone.
Priest Holmes was good, but Priest Holmes' success did not have to do with his individual ability the way that Jamal Charles. Priest Holmes had 3 first ballot Hall of Fame
Offensive
linemen. He had a Hall of Fame tight end and one of the best run blocking fullbacks
That's
in
true.
the history
That's
of
true.
the game.
That team was very stacked.
And he had a legitimate pass threat in the background, and Dick Vermeil calling the plays, drawing up these offensive running plays that just, if you liked running game, you spent the entire fucking first half with your dick hard. because there's guards pulling, crushing people. Like it's the runs are working just like you draw it up. And you got Rofe on the left destroying sides. You got Will Shields, who was probably arguably the best guard ever to play.
Sure.
I mean,
I would take that.
13 consecutive Pro Bowls in the AFC, like 9 consecutive All Pros, some ridiculous shit like that. First ballot Hall of Famer, yada, yada, yada. And then you have Brian Waters and Wiegman and the other guy.
Jesus. Right.
And,
it almost makes me forget because I know
Tony
you're a
Gonzalez,
Chiefs enthusiast. Right.
And
right.
Tony Rich. Like, I'm telling you, man, that was such a good time if you liked watching running game, because those guys would operate flawlessly, their timing and their strength and all that. It was like ballet of 500-pound guys. And every time you saw so many times Priest getting into the end zone, oh, pretty. Yeah, but you rewind that, and every time my man Tony Richardson is absolutely obliterating someone maybe 3 seconds before that. Like,
he was a great fullback.
Yeah.
It was a great fullback. So, yeah. So maybe the argument could be made that Jamal did more with less?
Yes.
Right.
I just, Jamal was a much greater talent.
Oh, for sure.
He was shiftier. He was much faster. He wasn't stronger. He wasn't more durable.
This wouldn't be too much of a shot to Shady, but he kind of had that kind of Shady McCoy kind of elusiveness that you don't really see too many running backs be able to take it through the nose of the defense, shake somebody, and then pull away and take it to the house.
Shake, just like
1 foot, I'm done. I'm out to the house.
I don't care who you are. If it's just you, there's no chance.
Right.
Because he was that freaky. And Shady does it with shakes.
Right.
Jamal did it with slashes.
Right.
Jamal was a slasher.
100%.
And he was a tough runner, man. I miss that guy.
Well, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, according to Al Davis.
I think that's there are no truer words that have ever been spoken in a capitalist society.
Yeah, that's my
if
guy.
If this weren't a capitalist society,
sure, right. If this was, Soviet Union and everybody gets a candy bar,
we'll play by the rules.
Right.
But if it's, if feeding my family, I have that in quotes because it's extremely corny, because if I'm a professional athlete, 1 year of salary could feed my family literally the actual food probably for our entire lives.
True story.
But
even as a third stringer, right? 700,000 I think is the base salary.
The league minimum is speaking of which, I had a pretty good idea for an agent. For an idea, you expressed some interest in that, right?
I did, of course. That was one of my I don't want to call it a passion, but it piqued my interest. Okay, well, for sure.
I think we might be able to get rich on this, dude, and I'm dead serious because I thought of you as soon as we came up with this idea. Now I have a question for you.
Please tell me.
I don't know if this is going to end up in a podcast. Doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Who cares?
Why are sumo wrestlers not playing in the offensive line?
So, first of all, because I love film, and that'll always be something that I always bring up. So the replacement player is apparently Gene Hackman's character figured that out because one of the offensive linemen was a Japanese sumo guy. I don't understand. I think a large part of it is because, so for me, you got a lot of rugby players, right, that try to come into the NFL. I just think, and this is not a shot, but the playbooks are so comprehensive and so detailed and so complex that I don't think a lot of guys can translate. But at the end of the day, you're just pushing a dude around, right? So what are you really telling this guy?
I'm going to disagree with that on these grounds. I never played organized football.
Me neither.
I watched the game.
I play street ball.
Someone explained the rules to me. It 1st and 10 means it's a first down and they're trying to get 10 yards. Mm-hmm. And if you keep getting 10 yards, you get a touchdown. I mean, it's pretty.
That's the simplest way to explain it.
Right. So then you start playing Madden when you're 12, mm-hmm. And you don't understand concepts so much.
No, not at all.
But with Madden the way it was, if you're going to be good at Madden, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have sex with it 7 days a week, which I did for, many, many years.
I think until a couple of months ago, I was having sex with it religiously every day.
Right. So, okay.
Yeah.
So, you understand.
I get it.
you can learn from playing that video game.
Facts.
You know, give this sumo wrestler a Madden game and tell him, hey, if you can figure out which guy to push in front of you, we're going to pay you.
Well, you know,
we're going to pay you $4 million a year, bro. You can't make that pushing around fat Japanese men in the pit.
This is what I think. I think I just finished watching, again, to bring it a movie, Trouble with the Curve. Okay, it's a Clint Eastwood film. Have you ever seen it?
No, can't say that I have.
So this is the thing. I think a lot of these scouts are old, right? And thinking outside the box isn't really their thing. I think Billy Bean was probably one of the frontier guys,
I understand what you're saying.
and coming out being analytical and trying to change the game.
Yep.
There really hasn't been that movement in the NFL. I think now with the running quarterback, that seems to be the only thing that people are trying to take a chance on more than project players.
Let me tell you about a sumo wrestler, because I watch a little bit of sumo.
Okay.
Do you know the stance that the sumo wrestlers
It looks
start in?
just like an offensive line stance.
You understand what it is. Wide legs, ass,
right. You get
back straight
You
up.
got 3 fingers, pressed into the ground, pretty much.
And then it's Hajime or whatever the hell they say. And these two gigantic men do exactly what an offensive and defensive lineman do. They smash into each other. Only the average offensive lineman, and these guys are athletes, okay? These sumo wrestlers are not big, fat, squishy guys.
No, and even if they are, they could do splits.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. These guys, I was
Right.
taking the breath to say that these guys are athletes,
Yeah.
and also the regimen that they go through, the mental game that they go through for sumo, the spiritual element to sumo makes them focused. This is warrior shit. This ain't some fucking nigga in the hood trying to go
Facts.
out and drip some Surtzarp.
Right.
This dude is going to be, so I think he'll eat that fucking playbook. He'll eat that playbook up. just like
Maybe
he
another
eats
portion of it
everything else.
is the language barrier potentially.
We can work on that.
Right.
Google Translate.
I agree. I mean, I think that where the NFL's, this is what I think.
Conditioning was what me and my friend thought could be.
I
it.
also think too, right? I think that the NFL teams and owners try to put this like curtain or veil over your eyes when they try to make you believe that they're trying to do everything possible to put their best team onto the field.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's not a fact.
It is definitely not a fact.
I think there's 8 to 10 teams that
Right.
do that.
Right.
And then there's the rest.
Yeah.
And everybody else is trying to sell jerseys, seats,
Sure. It's a
boxes.
business.
That's not,
Yeah, but if you win, that boosts the shit out of your business.
Listen, I agree. I mean, think about this. They're trying to take, let's say, for example, the NFL to Europe. How cool would it be to get like the Asian
Dude, we could
influence?
open an entire
Right.
market. We
But-
could open a market. And think about it, dude. Hand fighting is so important in offensive line play. Those sumo are fucking
100%, bro.
beasts.
100%.
Not only that, but they have strikes with those hands. So when you're a defensive lineman and you think you're fucking cute and you dip your shoulder and that motherfucker takes that big 200-pound arm and jams it in the lower of your back and you just fall the fuck down because a gigantic man weighing about 600 pounds just dropped the big right arm on you when you thought you were cute. And that's legal in football.
Right. 100%. I know it's crazy to think that they wouldn't even like think about it. They'd rather take a rugby player that's a good punt returner potentially that they might work at a project. You see a lot of like defensive ends are usually projects, right? That come from like Africa and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, people don't take shots
Think about
on the
them-
offensive
Think
line,
about them run blocking.
bro.
This isn't a 300-pound guard. This is a 380-pound guard. That is, and the thing I'm saying too is the fucking mental focus on these guys.
No, they're locked in.
It's
They're locked in, bro.
It's on a whole nother
You know
level.
what's so
dude.
funny? Because in the replacements, have you seen that with Keanu Reeves?
Long time ago.
Okay, they got one guy. I think, and the funny thing is, they made him the center, right? Which makes a lot of sense. That people haven't even, from our knowledge, tried to make an experiment at least to see what it was worth, right? But I mean, to me, the NFL has a lot of stuff going on the sub levels.
Yeah.
I mean, it took, again, because I'll always keep chiming in with this, it took for Will Smith to make a movie to make people aware about CTE. CTE has been an issue for so long, and the dollars are just not there, right? The dollars are not there. They, like for me, example, like one of my pet peeves, I'm like, why are we going to Europe? Why are we going to Mexico? Like, first of all, in the European, or let's say the international game,
Canada should be the first stop.
100%. And well, this is another thing that was blowing my mind, switching lanes really quickly. So the CFL, nobody watches, right? But yet we've already had two within a span of, I don't know, 18 months, two different expansion
XFL,
leagues,
yeah.
XFL and the other league that they shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not, where are we getting? I mean, we got, what was it? Doug Flutie from up there. And
that's where Warren Moon went to get his stripes.
that's my guy, Warren Moon. We got him
to
too.
prove he had to prove to the world that he threw
Right.
one of the best balls ever.
Took so long,
Yeah,
right?
Mhm.
And then I think
that Negro brains actually do work.
right. Well, that's a whole nother issue because I think it's crazy to think with all of the talk that what is it? Doug Williams is the until recently the first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl. So I don't know what it was, but anyways, that we don't pick more of those guys, but it seems like they try them and these guys don't make teams. I don't know if also too the coaches might be older, right? So they're more stubborn in their ways too. We don't have younger guys entering the game. We do now.
Yeah, we do now because I think honestly, I think what happened was after President Obama was elected and he was there to lead the country, I think people just accepted the thought that, well, if there is a black man leading the country, then it is acceptable now for a black man to be leading our football team.
100%. That I mean, I think Obama in that
it
regard
really
broke a lot of
I think it really
doors
did
down.
But I think Russell Wilson, if he comes to play on your team, I don't think it matters what color he is when he gets back there because he is such a difference maker.
I think though, it's just so hard, right? Like, you got Stephen A. and you got a lot of these black commentators talking about the shades of black, right? And so, like, if you're lighter, you're kind of more accepted through society.
Sure.
But if you're darker, you're kind of not. And so, it's very interesting to see how we embrace the different shades, right? Because you can, like Patty Mahomes looks like, some mulatto kid from the block. Versus,
Yeah.
I mean, if Lamar Jackson won the Super Bowl, I think it would be a more interesting conversation, right? Because he would be considered black,
Well,
right? And that's the thing now. You got to be black to
but
be considered
Lamar
black, at least
also-
from the media
also
standpoint.
Lamar also plays a different position. The position very differently.
Yeah, 100%.
Then, so I think that has a lot to do with the perception of his game. Lamar is such an interesting case because Lamar, as we say, we've never seen anything like patty cakes before.
Mm-hmm.
Or, well, as I like to call him, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Mahomey. But we have seen very similar things to Patrick Mahomes. He plays the position like a quarterback does.
Right.
He's
Conventional,
let's
say.
but
right?
he is talented in a way that we have never seen a conventional talent
right.
quarterback exhibit in the first few
Well, he's not a
seasons.
pure pocket passer by most standards, right? He's an East and West guy.
He does everything,
But he's not going to take it to the house like Lamar can. He's not going to take it to the house like
Now,
a Vic could have.
Lamar is a quarterback who is developing as a passer and made one of the biggest jumps in passing efficiency that I have ever seen in less than a season. And I'm so impressed by that. But Lamar is legit a slot receiver once he gets the football.
You could even argue that he might be like
Like a punt returner even?
no, I would potentially classify him as maybe, a third down back.
Well,
right?
the
Because he
reason
has
the reason I don't want to do that is because I don't want people thinking about him in that way of durability. Because you think about a running back, you can run a running back 30
into the
times a
ground.
game.
Right.
You can't run a wide receiver. You can't give a wide receiver
Right.
9 carries in a football game.
Sure. That makes more sense.
So
Even
that,
a punt,
that's the reason.
maybe punt returner
Yeah.
or kick returner
That's
might
the
be
reason
by,
that I
stuck to that
and
analogy.
also I really feel like there's a lot of racism towards Lamar, towards him, and they try to insult him by calling him a running back. And you're an idiot because you're actually complimenting him. Because yes, when he gets the ball in the open field, he's as good as any goddamn running back I've ever seen, except for like Barry Sanders. He's got shakes, he's got quickness, he's got acceleration, he's fearless. He doesn't take big hits.
To bring it back a little bit earlier, it's funny to see now if you could take Cam Newton, right, and put him post Lamar, right? Because I think a large part of the conversation is that you're not trying to make somebody into something else. I think that now the coaches are getting a little bit smarter and they're saying, hey, this guy's got wheels, this guy's got this guy's got all that stuff. So why don't we allow him to play his game, right? I think a big part of Cam Newton's downfall was that instead of letting him do him.
Nope. You're a pocket passer now.
Stay there. And then back to what we were saying when he was getting hit and he like the fumble and he second guessed himself. I think that Cam has went through that a lot. It's like I'm second guessing myself. Should I run? Should I stay in the pocket? And you like Lamar, they're like, dude, do what you do.
Yep. Do what comes natural.
Get 2 reads, maybe 2. Yep. And then if it's not there, bounce.
Yep. And
by the way, on a side note, I just looked up Canadian football players. Warren Moon's not even on the top 7, which is atrocious in my opinion.
What do you mean?
He didn't even make this. According to I think it's Bleacher Report, he didn't even make top 7. Are you kidding me? But it's okay. I guess maybe they don't consider him a CFL player anymore. He's an NFL player. So technically, maybe if I looked up that, he might jump up on that. But I didn't mean to cut you off. I just thought that was fascinating.
Just because me and one of my confidants, I was. When Patrick Mahomes came on the scene, and I'm a pretty big Chiefs fan, I read stuff in the offseason, I keep up with the team. And when I knew that we were trading Alex away, I pinned a tweet to my Twitter saying that he was going to throw for a whole bunch of yards, but
who Al was when he moved on, or Patrick when he came
Mahomes,
on there?
Once he got his
wings.
Once he got
drank some Red Bull,
the thing to play, but man, this guy,
he's far exceeded, I think, everybody's expectations. Right? Is that fair to say?
As far as week 5, I think it was of last season, I went on the record on my Twitter account, and I will say it again here. There's not, after watching him play for about, I might have been 9 games, there isn't a quarterback in the history of the game I would rather have for my team. But also,
you're insulting my boy
also
TV.
Because no, not at all, not at all. Also because not only that, but he's a fucking black quarterback.
I know, but it's so crazy, right? Like, I haven't read anything, and I'm like you. I don't just do the Chiefs reading. Right. I do all the readings, and no one has said that. But, like, it hasn't even been mentioned.
But
I know it's a fact.
That's great.
It's a fact.
And it's great.
Sure,
it's great.
Agreed. That's what we should be, right? Because my biggest thing is we shouldn't have gay bars. We should just have bars, right? Like, wherever, it's just a bar. It's not a straight bar. It's not a black bar. It's not a brown bar. Right. It's just a bar.
Right.
So I think that's good, I guess, now where we're at, that he could be just a quarterback.
I hope we're there, but you being a cynic and me being a realist, we know that is not the reason that we're not talking about
100%
him as a black quarterback.
Well, it's funny to me, right? Just because it just popped up in my mind, I would say, and this is probably not for me to say, but I'm gonna go crazy and call at this point Russell Wilson the black quarterback versus Mahomes, because he's with Sierra, right?
And,
so that's
and he's got him by a couple of shades too.
You don't really right. Oh, well, that too. Facts.
His tan's a little darker.
Sure,
100%. I don't think Russell Wilson is black dad, white mom, and generally because of slavery, a lot of people don't know this, but the average black African American is 25% white.
I know. I found that hilarious.
So any mulatto is actually considerably more white than they are black.
I know.
Which is really strange.
Well, those slave owners, bro.
Yeah, but
orgies, bro.
Well, they got horny, man.
Yeah, I ain't mad at them.
I would have been a black pussy all day long. Oh my God, we're gonna hurt some feelings with this.
Listen,
we'll cut that one out.
No. We ain't cutting out shit. Okay, we're here to air it out. That's what we do. All right. So now, according to what I'm looking at here, I think my guy is. Both parents are pretty dark persuasion.
Yeah, that's
right?
that's a family full of black folk for
True
sure.
story,
Yeah.
right? And then so
Yeah, those are black
Patrick,
people.
mom is
Yeah.
white, right?
Yeah.
And then so not to get too crazy, but again, like I was saying with that, so now Pat's dating a white girl, right?
Who is fine as hell.
I think that's argumentative, but
Oh
we'll get on
my
that in a
God.
minute. She looks like an average Joe girl. She's a plain Jane.
She's cutie pie, dude.
Oh yeah, cutie pie. But I mean, I wouldn't consider her in the smoking hot
Dude,
section.
Dude, she'll be good in like
Right. It's one of
30.
those, right?
Yeah, dude, that's
She's gonna be a sick MILF
Yes,
for sure,
dude,
or a
she's
cougar.
good for like
But I guess MILF is better because cougar means you're single. So I doubt she's not gonna fuck up that money train.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's what I'm saying. I think in
And
the
she's a big
circles,
fan.
in the cultures, right? It just looks like Patrick doesn't seem to be. I think another component. That's what I was going to
Well,
bring
they
up too.
also had a fuck ton of money.
For you to be kind of black, right? You kind of also, it's like
Urban
hood. You got to
is
be
the
hood,
word,
right?
yes.
You got to be hood.
Right,
You got to be
yes.
hood, all right? And when you're like a nice guy, you're well spoken.
You know.
That's what I think translates for Russell. Russell's like eloquent.
But patty cakes is every bit as
Facts,
eloquent.
of course.
See, and the thing that killed, I was always under the impression because of my some of my own experience. I thought that Russell was having problems with the defensive guys on his team.
Oh, Sherman was giving him shit for sure.
Because he was well spoken.
Right.
But that wasn't the case.
What was the case?
Russell is a corny ass
Right.
nigga.
Well, he's like the Carlton.
No,
could
he's
potentially.
like, no, he's like, no, Carlton was more real. Carlton was just a goofy ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? But
On
when
the
you
show.
met
Right,
Carlton,
actually, you're right.
When
That-
you
we-
met
we've seen-
Carlton,
we've seen the facade
Yes, you met
of-
that guy. Like
Right,
you actually
right,
met
right,
Carlton. When you meet Russell Wilson, you don't fucking meet Russell Wilson. You meet some
Right.
person that he's created, and that's why the defenders don't like him, because they don't fucking trust him, because he's a phony.
That's interesting.
And Russell Wilson was my favorite football player when he came into the league. I saw him when I was researching preseason games for fantasy, and he played the Chiefs in week 3 of his preseason, and that little nigga came out and scorched us.
Well, not only that, he might go down in history as one of the craziest deals ever because they signed that kid from Green Bay for mucho bucks.
Matt McGloin. I
Yeah,
think it
and
was.
and then they come out and they get him in the 3rd round, and good for the coach to say, "Hey, bro, I don't care how much I paid you. This kid is going to
Russell
start."
took the job.
Yeah.
And he's had one of the best starts to his career ever.
100%.
Russell Wilson is an amazing football player.
You heard it here right now. HOF all day,
Easy.
all day.
Already.
Yeah.
He is the modern day Fran Tarkenton. That's who he reminds me
Facts. Talking about east to west guys. Elusively. I mean, I like the new word. One of the buzzwords for ESPN was swagger. They stole.
Right.
Their new buzzword is magician.
Okay.
So they start fucking using that shit for everything, right? But because they'll say, Lamar, magic tricks or magician.
Right.
The real magician to me is Russell Wilson. What that guy can do when you think you got him dead to rights, and then he's like, oh no, I'm just going to turn around and go the other fucking way.
That double
look
bailout
downfield.
of the pocket was
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And
It's-
the only other guy I ever saw do that was Fran Tarkenton.
For sure. And I'm old but young. I had to look it up, not before Russell, but just in my studies. Fran Tarkenton, I mean, unbelievable. Very, very mobile. But again, just east to west. We don't got to go for 20, 30, 30 yards.
Bombing it.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? You got to keep your eyes upfield, right? Because at the end of the day, there's only so many hits you can take, right? Because if you take the bad one, you're done.
Well, and also this is why I was this is why, as I love Lamar. I do. He just seems like such a humble kid.
Unbelievable.
The guys on his team love him.
Right.
He's a quarterback that's fucking tough as nails.
He's unbelievable.
Because he's running the ball.
I thought that my thing was on him was that he was smaller. I thought that he might have come into some of the same problems that RG3 did, but he has evaded all of that.
Well, I want to talk about RG3 a different day because I'm very, very mad at Mike Shanahan for that.
Yeah, for sure.
What was I going to tell you about Lamar? It was really interesting.
You were saying that he was a humble human being playing at the position, and
that's right. And when you play quarterback, see, this is why I worry about him, because you can play running back with 7 different injuries.
Right.
You can have a bad thumb, you can have a broken wrist, and you can go out
Right.
there and you can
Take
be
me
running
up, bro.
back.
Take me up, coach.
You know, if you're a quarterback, the only guy I've ever seen play quarterback with multiple injuries consistently is.
Okay, hold on.
I named a car after this bastard. Toughest quarterback ever. No longer with us.
I'm trying to think. Multiple injuries.
Oh, he was on the injury report for his entire career.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say Vic, but I don't know.
It was Steve McNair.
Wow, that's a throwback, bro. Not a lot of people even remember him. Airin McNair?
Airin McNair.
That was a guy.
Yeah.
That was
Airin
a dude.
McNair was
Unbelievable.
always hurt.
Yeah.
And he's the only quarterback I've ever seen play injured well. Because anyone else you get out there, if they're hurt.
Well, back to what I was saying about a magician and stuff. That guy had magic too, man. There was something about that dude that there was no quit in him. It's sad to see that he didn't get a chip. That player fell 1 yard short, right, from either making Kurt Warner a forever grocery bagger or from being the greatest show on turf.
You know, the game plan that the Titans came out with in the first half of that game was atrocious. And I think a lot of teams do that. Is they come out with this first quarter game plan in the Super Bowl that has nothing to do with what got them to the Super Bowl. That game, they didn't run Eddie George at all in the first half.
Another phenomenal running back who never even gets talked about.
And he had like 1,500 yards. They started giving him the ball in the second half.
Well, you know what really blows my mind? Because I could say at least I've watched the last 10 Super Bowls consecutively in the sense of full season, Super Bowl, full season, Super Bowl.
Yeah, so
I feel like some teams, we were talking about it the other day, they just like lose their identity. Like you crush 3 teams in a row and then you get to the Super Bowl and it's like you forgot what you did to get there. Like was 1 week of partying too much for you at the coach? Like did you overthink yourself? And bringing it back, let me tell you something, because Andy Reid, in my opinion, has always been a coach who's not a chance taker. And man, he took so many freaking chances in that Super Bowl. Good for him. But I'm telling you, you see it so many times with these coaches. Like, are the bright lights too bright where you forget what the F you're doing?
Yeah, they just.
It's like I made it, but you didn't win it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if it's well, of course there's a lot of pressure. But, you know, what I hear from all the greats when they come in and they're like, well, what's your advice for the Super Bowl? Mr. Super Bowl champion said, we'll treat it like a regular game.
You know, so funny speaking about it, because I had an opportunity to meet Warren and talk to Warren. And you know what he said to me? And it's crazy. He's been known to say this, at least from the quarterback's perspective. He said he used a lot of visualization.
Yeah.
And so like whatever the playbook was, he said he would sit there and let's say, you know, it was a quick slant. He would, in his mind,
take mental reps.
Boom, the quick slant. And then the next pass, like that was a first down. And then a screen pass, boom.
Your
and
mind can't tell the difference between the two.
Right. So for me, I'm like, where's the coach's mental reps, bro? Like, how did you, to me, that's why cheating or not cheating, Bill, is unbelievable. And maybe just being there all the time gives you that comfortability, right? Because we see these one and done guys, right? That they come in and they'll never get back to the dance, right? We talk about quarterbacks and teams, but no one really puts the blame on the coaches, where it's like, no, this was this guy's game plan. He had, let's say, 2 weeks, right, to implement this whole deal. And you dropped the ball, bro.
And it had very little from what you had success in.
I think
in the first season.
That's part of the speculation. That's part of the reason why the Chiefs trailed in all those games, because Andy Reid has never been in games where he has that bravado of the playoffs in him, right? So for him, like the reps was just like, oh man, you know, we're down, and just kind of, because he has that humdrum kind of deal where it's just like, you know, the shoulders roll forward.
They do.
And he's just like, well, here we go again, right? But Patrick was like, this ain't happening this time, my man. I am going to put the cape and the mask on, and I'm going to save some fucking people today. And it was funny to watch it, because when I was watching the Super Bowl, I was like, tell me, do not do that again. Tell me you're not going to roll your shoulders over, and every game I thought that. I said, come on, Andy, you got to be kidding me. Not Tennessee. The Texans were a little bit different to me because everybody calls, I was telling you this the other day, everybody thinks that Deshaun Watson is Michael Jordan. I think that Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, would be more of a logo guy, of a flair dude. But anyways, that Texans game, I was like, man, this might be out of reach. But when they played Tennessee, I was like, hey, they're still in this. And when they played the Niners, I was like, first of all, I'm going to go on the record and say Garoppolo. No, I don't believe.
Garoppolo, no.
Right. No, nobody.
Garoppolo, no.
True story. And so when they were limited, I knew, like, the whole season watching the Niners, I was like, the defense is great. The defense is great. I love Shanahan, what he's doing. But it's running. And the thing is, I think that was probably a knock on Lamar as well. You could run. Right. But what's going to happen when you got to throw, right? And Lamar answered that question, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. And I don't think that Jimmy G has, there were moments, there was a really great game. I don't know how much NFC West football you watched, but when they played Seattle, Jimmy G showed up.
Right.
4 TDs. I mean, he was doing his thing.
Yep.
But against the Chiefs, no offense to you, let's say 700 defense, right? They weren't perfect by any means,
right?
But it didn't even seem like he challenged anybody. He
He
didn't air it out, right? And he overthrew a fast guy. What's this
that
kid?
was a really bad play.
Sanders is got speed like a mofo.
They said, why not underthrow that ball? Because then if you underthrow
right, it's a punt. Right. And
it's either a punt or it's a pass interference.
Right. Either way.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're going to get tied up with the DB.
So that was a big mistake. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo played that shitty.
I don't think they let him play the game, though.
But what I think a lot of people forget is that the Chiefs, and I was bringing this up with the other day, you look at the past 5 or 6 seasons that they've had. Well, let's talk about the last 3 seasons. Last year, their schedule, they played everyone who was worth a damn.
The Chiefs did?
Yes. They played the Pats. They played the Rams.
I remember that game because what was it? Tom versus Time. That first episode or 2 or 3.
Yep.
They destroyed Tom Brady.
Yes, that was the season before that.
Oh, was it? It wasn't. But no,
no, it was 2 seasons before. Yes,
you sure?
The opening game was 3 years ago, and the Chiefs went on the road with Alex Smith.
Yeah,
and gave him a 50 burger.
Oh, so was the game that you're speaking of the beer toss in the face?
Yes,
right.
Yeah,
to Tyreek.
On that play that was.
Ridiculous that I took
that
it.
was the most obnoxious play I had ever seen in the NFL.
In sense of, like, just
ever. The fact that Tyreek Hill caught that ball in front of the safety,
turned
around, looked at him, and then hit the sideline for another 40.
Well, that's what that guy does. I mean, he's unbelievable.
How is that even possible? You can't do that in a football game. Yeah. So
speed kills, bro.
It would, but that was like nothing I had ever seen. You're not supposed to be able to run away from the free safety like that. The free safety is the last line of defense.
I agree.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
No, you were talking about, no, I got you right here. So we were discussing last year that they played, they had a great schedule.
Right. So they played everybody.
Or tough schedule, I should say.
This year again, you look at the schedule, it's got a bunch of playoff teams on it. The year before that, bunch of playoff teams on it. The 49ers were 4-12 last year.
Right.
They played the 4-12 schedule in a division with essentially one team that we thought that was going to be good, which was them. They played the 4-12 schedule. The Chiefs were battle tested, man. These guys had played in a lot of big games against a lot of good teams.
What was it? There was a guy, and it's so silly because I had him on a franchise of mine, and he was the quarterback for my Chiefs at the time. To see what Matt Moore did this year in backup of Pat against Green Bay, they had a really tough schedule. They played, at least for this year was a tough one too.
Green Bay, Minnesota,
right? Well, they played the whole.
That's what I'm saying. Detroit was good. Everyone.
Let's not get crazy. Sorry, Detroit fans.
It was on the road, and it was
Well, that was actually, you're right, because it was earlier in the season, and Detroit they had a lot of games that they could have won, and they could have been a better team. And you're right. That almost came down. You guys were getting killed.
Last minute
you
drive.
guys, the first 2 quarters.
Last minute drive.
They were
cakes.
right.
Yeah.
Well, the guys just magical.
So so these Chiefs, I mean, they were a battle tested, hardened team in the playoffs, and they were playing real motherfuckers. They played last year's Patriots team, which was a good ass team.
Facts.
They played Baltimore both years. They've covered everyone that has a good squad. Think of it. There's no one they haven't played. They played Dallas 3 years ago. Who else is good? Anyone that's good now. They've played them. The Niners are a bunch of shit. They were playing the 4-12 schedule. They weren't a good team last year.
Right, I agree. I think the competition committee definitely has to look at something like that, where you also have to take in not only strength of schedule, not only record, but potential of team.
Yeah.
Right. So like, if the Niners pulled out all the stops to try to get a solid squad together. If anything, you're right. They did play a weaker schedule. And also too, to me, the West, the only people in the building in the West is
and they were a weaker team, man, because the Chiefs, this iteration of the Kansas City Chiefs was last year's team that was one snap away from the Super Bowl, or a coin flip away from the Super Bowl, or whatever you want to call it. And this was that year's team with the corrections to try to win the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
The Niners had the second pick in the draft. You can't forget about that.
100%.
Like, you can't just let that slip out of your head. A team doesn't become a great playoff caliber contending team in one season.
Right.
You guys have to learn how to win.
Sure.
You see that in professional sports.
It's a culture. It's a culture that happens, right? Because losing,
change. Yes,
you can get used to.
You start to win. You start to, like I said, believe you can win, which is really the most important part. And I don't think San Francisco had the belief like the Chiefs did, because the Chiefs, we've played everybody.
I think that there is some truth to that statement. Like I said, I don't really think that the Niners were that stacked on offense. I mean, granted, they did a lot with an injured offensive line, but at the end of the day, I mean, no offense, but when your tight end is your best, I think even the Chiefs were kind of in a position like this many times, right? Where if your tight end is your best position, that's not really great.
That's not what you want.
Right.
You want a dominant tight end.
Sure, facts. But if that's your main player, I mean, and
Kelsey is our main player.
Sure. But what I'm saying, when Kittle's your guy, Kittle's your guy,
and there's no one else.
And look, Sanders and Samuel played unbelievable.
And that is, I think, the only mistake that I can say to the Shanahan. Everyone's given him so much shit for losing this football game and losing the other. The two have nothing to do with one another.
I totally think they have a whole bunch to do with each other. You know why?
Really?
Yeah. Watch this. So what are they up? 24-3 or 24-4 against the Pats? You start to do this. Right? You start to, let me do it for the camera. You let off the gas. And that's why a lot of people give junk to Bill Belichick when he runs up the score. It's not running up the score. It's teaching players how to finish.
It's a professional game.
So
it's
when
not college.
when he got, this is what happened. He didn't apply the pressure. So he didn't apply the pressure to the Patriots.
How did he not apply the pressure?
Getting conservative. So, for example,
but he was still trying to throw the ball, and that's what everyone's yelling at him for.
No. In the Patriots game, he should have ran it instead of throwing it because that incompletion screwed them, and then they got a sack following that, and that pushed them back. The same thing with this. I
should have ran Debo again.
I know. I get that part, but I feel like this is my thing. Where the NFL is about airing it out, right? You got to line up, man. Get 4 wide and just start chucking the rock, right? And to your argument of that, but I know, I don't know, but I can speculate that I feel that Shanahan didn't believe that Jimmy G was going to go there and start to pick fools apart because he hadn't showed it all season. Where he had to stand there 20, 30 times and just go and go and go.
Dude, and also, you got to give the Chiefs secondary a little bit of credit.
100%. Listen, what was it? Is it Breland?
Breland Speaks was number 21.
That
made a lot of big plays.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The guy, so him and then is it Matthias? I always get that kid's name.
Matthew. Tyrann Matthew.
Matthew was unreal,
First Oh, so this gets back to what I wanted to say about why people underestimated the Chiefs' defense. Last year, the Chiefs' defense was absolutely atrocious. Okay. Like, it was one of the worst units I had ever seen trying to execute ever. They were very, very poor tacklers, but not only were there poor tacklers, but there were people who were intended to be backups who were out there playing because of the safety situation with Barry being hurt. So the Chiefs had all season long, they did not have a starting safety because it was a guy that they had just drafted in like the 5th round in and out, along with Barry, who never got quite healthy. And then when Barry gets back, the defense played well against San Diego, but Barry was aware that guys didn't know where the hell they were supposed to line up.
So if I'm not mistaken, 18, 12, and 4, they were 24th of 32 on defense. And then let's see what they got this year. Because for me this year too, they kind of struggled a little bit.
Last year they were 24th.
Yeah.
They were 31st against the run and like 32nd against the pass. I mean, they couldn't stop the run or the fucking pass last year. They were totally shitty. And not only that, but they missed tackles. They didn't know their assignments. Like the defense, they gave up 3 consecutive third downs to the fucking Patriots on the same goddamn play. You know, the scheme wasn't conducive to the players that they had. The players didn't know where they were doing or how they were supposed to attack.
What did you feel about the defense against the Patriots? Would it be 2 years ago? Because we're in 2020 when they had that final. I guess 2 years ago where they played Tom. They pretty much that defense held Tom pretty down pretty well.
That bad,
right? They weren't horrible.
No,
was Barry in that game?
Yes,
right.
And that was the thing. And Barry was covering Gronkowski back then, and Gronkowski got the best of him in one game. He got open and caught that touchdown.
That's all that, right? Because they were. It seemed like a pretty even match game, and then Patrick started
shut him down the thing before that.
So they started
game before that.
Yeah. So they played. I mean, listen, good for them to have come so far in that regard, because to go, were they made it to the second round, or they made it to, was that the divisional championship? Patrick,
they only made it
Chiefs.
to the divisional round,
right?
The year before that,
okay, right.
Lost the
not bad, man, to go to that, and then final year,
you never
win the whole deal.
You never go to New England in the playoffs and expect to win.
By the way, I'm going to pull a Joe Rogan. He does this all the time. Well, his guests do. I'm going to use the bathroom.
Okay.
Fill the airtime. Well, I'm going to make it real quick.
We're going to put some filler on here, which is going to turn into a pause on your...
No. Just keep going.
Yeah, I'm going.
It's going to be as full as possible, baby.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
So are we going to hear the sprinkle from your tinkle?
I hope not.
So I don't think I said it strongly enough. I'm going to reiterate it one more time. I'm looking at my Twitter feed right now, and I'm just going to say that there isn't a quarterback in the history of the game that I would rather have pulling the strings. Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out when I made it last year, like after which game I said that.
Okay, so I mean, we haven't seen enough of Patrick to think about it. So 2 minutes. So Patty.
What, a 2-minute drill?
Yeah. So Patrick over everybody else, or anybody else, I should say. You do okay. So let's go. If you take Patrick, right?
Okay.
Who would be 2-3?
Let's see how far behind the other guys fell in comparison to that.
So what do you? I don't completely understand the question. Who
So
is
the
my?
question is, if you're gonna take Patrick, right? But let's say Patrick was, for example, like if you had the situation where Patrick was indisposed.
Okay.
Let's say.
Yeah.
Who would be the follow up to that?
To play quarterback for me in a 2-minute situation.
Correct. Or to be your quarterback, like you were saying, lifetime.
Oh wow! I mean, you almost have to choose Tom Brady with what you've seen.
Right, facts. So who would be the next?
But
more,
I said, but that wasn't me taking Tom Brady because
Yeah, I
I'd
get you.
probably go Aaron Rodgers.
Wow, that's a statement.
Well, I just
Airin hasn't, in my opinion, proved any of that yet. Well, actually, he has. He just hasn't proved it in the playoffs.
the tools are there. And I think I could coach him into the scheme that I wanted. I think he has the ability to make that type of throws.
You on the sideline and be a little girl.
Well, I mean,
or anything crazy like that.
I would hope not in a two minute, but on a 2 minute drive, if I have a fucking quarterback that's been there for 15 years, do you think I'm gonna tell him what to do with the sticks on Madden?
No.
I mean, you're
Right.
you're a Hall of Famer, dude. Go out and fucking do it.
Go ball.
Like, there's no coach into this. You know the fucking playbook. You can read a
All
defense.
right, so let me ask you
change
this.
the fucking play.
I know you believe it because, excuse me, you talked to me off air, excuse me again, that you believe that this is a dynasty beginning. Do you think that they go back to back? Little Drake action?
So
Back to back?
let me since I have my Twitter thing out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have
It's okay, I got you. Go it's Family Tree.
hold on.
I already know, bro. Sorry. This is the great part about being a awesome host. You're on point. Family Tree, and then it's
Hold on, let me
yeah. I'll put it in for you so that the whole entire
Family
world
Tree, there we go.
doesn't know my my password.
Oh yeah, put it in, Daddy.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Ooh wee. I was waiting to use that, by the way. The ooh wee. Perfect time to use it. Oh my god.
Now, what was I going in here for again?
The dynasty. Your tweet.
Oh yeah, my.
I tell you, bro.
my
I'm
pinned
killing
tweet.
it.
Yeah,
I haven't.
Sorry, dude, I do
No,
drugs.
it's fine. I'm drinking non-alcoholics and
You got
I'm not high.
You got high guests.
I'm not high, bro. It's all good. I mean, shucks. If I wasn't trying to take this thing to the next level, I would probably be smoked out myself.
What do you mean I haven't tweeted yet?
Maybe it means today. It's like, hey, honey.
Because I want to see my twin Pete, my pin.
Well, while
tweet,
you
damn it.
while you looked that up.
So
tell me.
basically, what it said. Here we goes. I quoted my pin tweet from last year
Mhm.
because last year when I saw that they decided that after the season that he had, and as much as we loved Alex, that Alex, we're going to move on and we're going to go with this young guy. Alex threw for 4,100 yards that last season.
Mhm. He was
the
very
the
effective.
most of his season. I mean, he was Super Bowl caliber there, and I definitely feel like
We talked
he's a
about it
Super
too.
Bowl-
I like that guy a lot,
yeah,
man.
I mean, I'm a huge
Facts.
huge
He's
fan.
from here. He's from SD. Played at Helix High. Played with Reggie Bush. I
So-
mean,
when I saw
from
him
San Diego,
when
by
I
the way.
saw what happened with Kaepernick, how they dumped Alex, and then the head coach went with Kaepernick.
I know. What if this guy has such bad luck,
and
huh?
they went to, well, I wouldn't say it's that bad. I mean, the leg thing was bad luck. Losing your job to go get another $40 million.
But no,
job.
not only that. I mean, I get that part, but being in a position where you lost it twice to up and comers, right? And you didn't really do that bad or nothing that
he had
egregious to
10
lose.
He had
Right.
a great record
Right.
with San Francisco,
I think San Francisco is another one of those teams, right? That they've actually always been focused on the tight end, no receivers, right? So they had what's this fool's name running around, Vernon Davis,
Right.
And that's all Alex had to throw to, right? He never
Here
had
we go again.
the speed demon down the field. I mean, I'm taking applications for general manager right now.
So
I'm filling applications.
So after I saw that they'd made that decision, I went into NFL history and I saw that the greatest show on turf, this is me quoting my pin tweet from September 5th, 2018.
Mhm.
This is before Patrick Mahomes starts for the Kansas City Chiefs. Said the greatest show on turf, scored 30 points per game. And in 2017, the Chiefs scored 25 points per game. Now we're adding Sammy Watkins and we're adding Patrick Mahomes to last year's squad, whose offense was cruising until week 5 when the interior offensive line completely fell to pieces with injuries.
Yeah, that seemed to have been the narrative for you guys a lot.
And I said, and it's got to be 32 points per game. that the Chiefs are going to score this year. So I put that out. I put that bet out there, and turns out last year the Chiefs scored 34 points a game. So, I was pretty happy that I pinned that tweet. So this year I came back and I pinned another tweet. And this tweet says 2019, the dynasty begins. That last year the Chiefs averaged 34.8 points a game, which is obnoxious.
Right.
Which is the second most points ever in the history of the NFL. And then I said, I made it like last year's tweet, add McCole Hardman and Sammy Watkins healthy, and it's got to be an NFL record, 38 points per game. Now, due to injuries, which
happen,
the 32 points per game, the 38 points per game was a little hefty. Glad I didn't bet it, because I didn't bet it because of injury. But yeah, I really do believe right now with the core that they have on this team, no one's 30 years old.
No, it's unbelievable.
Nobody's 30.
Yeah, they got a squad. But again, like you said, injuries, right? I mean, this is my thing. So do these guys go work just as hard as they did this year, let's say, to compete? Because one of the scares for me that happened, and I drafted Patrick Mahomes off of his MVP season, knowing that this guy has the power to toss it up. I mean, first of all, everybody's talking about Lamar Jackson taking it to the house. How come nobody's talking about no-look passes from this guy, okay? Because you cannot have your body and your face in one direction and then throw a ball in a completely opposite direction.
You can do that with a basketball on a basketball court.
So what I'm saying is this guy is special, right? He does all these kind of things. So the kneecap thing worried me, right? So what is it? Was it fluky? Or I hope it's something that doesn't happen again, because that's the only thing that's going to slow this situation down.
Are you asking me, do you think his meat suit is somehow injury prone? Is that the question that
I guess I'm more saying that I'm nervous if his meat suit is a little defective.
I feel like that injury he suffered in that pile was a little bit fluky, because
it looks fluky. I've never heard of that either. I've never seen it or heard of it, right. Except for my quarterback getting mono. But that's okay. That's for another discussion.
But don't you see, motherfuckers get it twisted because he's not tall.
But what? He's tall. He looks fucking tall as shit. He's 6'3", right? He's
about 6'2".
Who's tall?
But
he's tall.
He's 230.
Right, boy's thick. I'm telling you, he's what Cam was when Cam came into the league. Big boy, not missing meals at all.
Yeah, and this is the one reason why Russell has been able to survive as well.
Is another beefy boy.
Are thick.
Right, which is something that I think Lamar needs to start to consider.
Yeah, because
there's no way.
Because Lamar's a wideout.
Right,
and he needs to be.
He's got the more athletic build.
He's got to get some girth.
Yeah,
but again, you can't throw a ball with a sore knee. You can't throw a ball with a hip pointer.
Right.
You can't throw a ball.
There's so many mechanics that come into it that you can't. You got to be at least like 95.
You need your entire body to throw a football. You need your ankles to throw a football.
And especially some of the magic that Patrick's does, you need to be as 100 as possible.
It's just the way it is. You can't. It's kind of like shooting a jump shot. The guy's out because he's got a sprained finger.
I know.
And people are like, a sprained finger? Yeah, I can't shoot a fucking jump shot, dude. Look how big this finger is. I can't hold the ball properly.
Not only that, have you ever, because you've played a lot of basketball. I played a little bit when I was younger, but have you ever sprained your finger, right? And then you try to catch a pass?
Oh my God.
How much that thing hurts?
The pain.
And so you're going to play 4 quarters on that, or
and it's just going to get worse the whole time.
It's going to suck.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. And potentially creating more damage. I mean, a basketball player, I'm not saying that doesn't need that many ligaments, but for football, you need to grip that thing and you need to be able to put the
tiniest fraction of how you put on the laces and how you spin that ball matters. It's 100%. Just like it matters in a baseball. How you grip those little things and rip it makes all the difference in the world. It's a game of inches.
That's why I'm so glad that you were able to switch lanes really quickly, because we definitely wanted to get in a little bit of the MOB into the show. Huh? Yes. So the first thing I wanted to do, I wanted to ask you, so you're a Chiefs fan, right? And you said you learned the Star Spangled Banner. That's not what you learned. But watching Boston play baseball
Yes,
when
they
you were in
played
Boston,
the
Mets
the Angels
in the
first.
80s.
You got to beat the Angels before you play the Mets, dude.
Are you talking about going to? No,
Yeah,
no.
the
I'm talking about the
ALCS.
final. Yeah, but what did you think about them getting rid of? Oh, actually, before I ask you that, are you a Boston Red Sox fan? Or who's your baseball
You
team
know,
to watch? Even if you do watch.
of course, I'm a Boston Red Sox.
Okay,
fan.
perfect.
Like
So
I wept like a little bitch when they won the World Series. When
Yeah.
I was 6 years old, I wanted to pitch for the Red Sox.
perfect.
So
So
I grew to 5'9".
do you? Well, listen. That still seems like ask Altuve.
And I didn't know the pitches
Right.
that were coming.
So
no one.
did you read any bylines about them moving? In my opinion, a franchise player,
You know,
because that's a franchise guy, bro.
moving Mookie Betts.
I don't know if that was in their best.
Listen, that isn't a move that what's his face would have made.
Oh my God,
That
the
lovely
Moneyball
little
dude.
Jewish boy
Yeah, the guy that
had.
bought two different championships to two starring
the guy that's-
franchises.
The guy that saves your 50,000-year drought teams.
He just comes in. It's like, you know what? I don't care what the history
Little
is.
Epstein,
Yeah,
come on in.
yeah.
Fix this problem. They
Yeah.
need to send him to the Middle East.
Seriously, or at least become president. Maybe he might be able to do some more stuff.
No, I think, why would you move that guy?
Facts. Why would you move that guy? Unless
You're
they knew
getting-
something. No, forget about what they were getting. Unless they knew something about him being a plague in the locker room. That's the only reason why you move him. I don't give a F what you get for him. That is not a guy you move. That's Derek Jeter in outfield.
But come
That's
on, but dude, this is the same season we saw the first guy to go all pro at two separate positions get fucking traded.
baseball is changing a little bit. It
But
is.
the football guy, the guy for the Raiders.
Who, Brown?
No, the fucking D end. The first guy to go all pro at Khalil Mack.
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, that was a huge mistake.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
know.
sure Gruden would
Like,
want to take that back.
But you said you can't believe.
But I also
you
think,
got
okay,
moved.
hold on.
Like,
To
guys
bring
like
it,
that move.
sure, but to bring it into perspective, right? You got a new coach, you got a new regime, you got a new general manager. Those fools got everybody the same in
You
Boston.
should have wrapped your fucking as a new manager.
Can I
You
tell
should have
you-
wrapped your lips
I
right
don't
around
even.
Khalil Mack's cock when you showed up.
I hate to keep going back to the NFL. When that fool, I seen him get drafted. I said, this guy's going to be a problem. I seen him his
The
first
third
couple of
pick,
years.
yeah.
I seen him his
saw
first
and I was
couple of
like,
years.
That dude's thick.
And I was like, he's an animal. And then when he got rid of him, I was like, well, maybe there's something I don't know. And then he became a bear. And then I was like, oh no, I know what I was talking about. This guy's an animal. So anyways, but remember, football, I think you move pieces more. In baseball, you don't really move pieces that often. And to move a caliber player like Betts, I think couldn't bite them in the ass.
You don't
future
see,
forward.
You don't see big guys getting moved by the team in the Major League Baseball. I can't remember once where a team was like, well, I'm going to take my best player and ship him off. I
No.
can't remember that ever happening.
I think the only one, and speculation, I want a cup of his urine. I would say probably in recent for me as a Yankee fan, Giancarlo Stanton would be somebody because that guy hits like nobody's business. But they moved off of him, and then look, he started to digress a little bit in the sense of injuries and stuff like that. We're gonna have to keep an eye on Best. But the only thing I could come up with is, but he doesn't seem like that kind of guy, right? Like this guy was like, they just won a World Series with this fool.
The year before last.
They just won a World Series with this
take
guy.
But they take the World Series for granted now in Boston. Trust me, because I fucking do too.
Well, not only that, I think that New England takes all championships for granted right now. What you guys have won in the last 15 years, there's a lot.
Because
Yeah, they didn't know. They didn't suffer like you guys. Facts. I'm talking about since 2003.
Yeah.
It's changed the world. You got what?
it's
Five,
been
6
obnoxious.
titles with the New England, a title with the Celtics, a title in hockey.
Yeah.
The Boston came out of the cellar.
And we got the marathon bombing.
Right. Well, there you go. Boom.
We blew that shit up.
Nasty.
Dude. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like,
But yeah, so I don't know. I'm not a Boston Red Sox fan. I'm not a Boston Red Sox team fan.
Right.
But I've always appreciated the players on the team.
Sure.
They've had great players. I was all in on Best.
But they've had great suffering in Boston.
Facts.
the
100,
Red
what,
Sox.
almost like 110 maybe.
Like
I mean, I basked in the glory for a long time
like,
before it.
Right. Watching it happen.
I was
you
like,
were
woo! Ooh, yeah. Listen, 04, I might have cried.
Just painful.
I refuse to watch another World Series with a Bostonian.
Just fucking painful the way they would lose.
Yeah, it was bad.
You know?
But then again, was what we were talking about, right? Like winning is a learned culture. I think losing kind of becomes a facade too.
It is.
Right? Like
it's your thought about
like,
it.
bro, don't worry.
Fucking happening again.
Right.
It's happening again.
Yeah.
Just like you expected Reed to do that. It's happening again. And Patty Cake said, yeah, it's happening again. We're going to come back from fucking 24.
I'm a crush, bro.
But
so do you think, I mean, with the move, I like the what is that? I think it was
I never
Alex Verdugo.
I never like moving the potentially best player on your team.
That's crazy.
No, you build around
and
those
I
guys.
think
What is he, 26?
Dude, if you think about the trade, right? They got nothing. Nothing. Alex Verdugo to me is a great slap hitter. I think he's a great locker room guy. I think he's fiery. And you give him David Price?
Well, Price was a salary.
Sure,
gig.
I get that part, but that's a lot to give away.
I think it's fun to be a fan of David Price because it's comical in the to know how much he is suffering emotionally when he's pitching is It's really like me and my cousin literally sit on the phone and just laugh our fucking asses off.
It's crazy. I wonder, do you think being a pitcher for a team or a quarterback, which one would
it's not?
I'm talking about pressure, not about hitting.
Oh,
because I feel like pressure. Because you're talking about watching Price. I mean, when you see these guys just like wiping sweat off their brow, and they're just they seem overwhelmed, bro. It's a lot of pressure, bro.
It's everybody's watching you,
bro. Are you kidding me, man? Unbelievable.
And the precision you have to execute with, you got to hit it 100%. Every time.
What's this guy, Kershaw?
It's pressure
he
that
can't even,
regular people can't fucking handle.
Not at all. I mean, I get a little nervous when I start a new job or when I start a new venture, and the palms get a little sweaty, and that's probably as close, or maybe on a first date, that you get to that feeling.
And there's like 20 people watching you.
Right. Imagine times 1,000.
Yes.
Because that's what it's like.
And no one's going to fucking forget if you fuck up.
Right. And you got a fool like me in the back that as soon as the crowd goes silent, it's like, you suck. And you hear that shit. Because I've done it. And they look up like, I mean, it's just hard. It's hard.
Because I've been known to yell, you're a fucking bum.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude,
for sure.
It's
and we don't know, right? We don't realize how much it takes. Like we could sit there in our seats.
Oh, I realize. I get it.
But we still yell these kind of things when instead of, like maybe a Minnesota or St. Louis, where it'll be like a cool clap, like thanks for trying, bro. We're gonna go ham.
You're gonna get it.
So it's crazy. So for me, I think that Price might kill, bro. Price might kill because now he's gonna go to National League. The National League, in my opinion, batting wise, is mediocre, and really the parks are built for pitchers, bro. Yeah. And so to me, I say the Dodgers. I mean, how could you not say they're locked for the World Series again?
Well, they'll be back,
which is crazy.
It's almost painful for their fans at this point because you start to think, what are we going to do? Go there and take a shit again? You know what I mean?
I forgot. I watched the game and I felt that there was so much stuff that they left on the field. I thought that them bringing in Kershaw for a second inning during that World Series was problematic. I even thought they should have I would have fired everybody. Now, I know that sounds crazy because we talk about it a lot and coaches need time. But when you're making mental errors like that from a manager perspective.
That's why Grady Little had to go.
I'm like, you need to get the fuck out of here.
That's why Grady Little had to go.
Seriously.
Because you prove yourself incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be, you don't need a
So for me, it's like.
Prove yourself incompetent.
First of all, why are you putting a starting pitcher in a different position when they need time to warm up, right? Within the game, you could throw 100 pitches. That's not the same shit in a bullpen. When you're there and you got to wind it up and go, okay, cool. I didn't mind it. He got out of an inning. Sit his ass down, bro. Why did you give him that second one? That, I think, so I didn't, first of all, that guy, you know him better than I do. What's his name? The coach of the
David
Dodgers?
Roberts?
Yes, that's the guy that ruined my life in 2004 and started that comeback. So I have my own history with him, but I don't think he should be the coach.
Fucking starter won for the Red Sox that day? Who was the 5 starter? He was such a fucking shit bone.
Bro, I literally have blocked that shit out because we had Murderers Row. If you read the list of batters we had that year,
I remember
they
it
were
was
so
fucking
good.
Sheffield.
Oh my God. By the way, love that guy. What a hitter, bro.
Not
what
a nice
hitter.
guy to wait on.
No, for sure. He seems, but you know, bringing that up, right? Because I'm in the thought processes of writing a book, and it's about mentors, and it's about meeting your heroes, right? Let's pause on that for a second. To be the guy, right? It takes so much, right? So one of the things that I've analyzed, because I've spoken to a lot of people, I've been chasing success, I've been chasing fame, I've been chasing money.
Sure.
Might not be the things that I should be chasing, but as a man,
happens.
I find
You got
that
a penis,
fascinating and interesting,
happens,
right?
right?
And I've always wondered why you have to be a bit of a tyrant to be super successful. I've always wondered to myself, could you be kind of a nice guy and go kill it? I think there's a part of you that has to be a fucking animal when you go. But the thing is, when you turn the switch on all the time, then when you go to dine, you don't know how to turn it off. And remember, you're not Gary Sheffield, you're the chef, right? So now you sit down and you're like, listen, bitch, go get me another bottle. Go pop me out, right?
Oh, no, he wasn't like that.
But no, I'm not saying that he was that egregious. I'm just saying that it's hard. Like these guys,
to turn it off,
bro. Like it takes so much
to be so like, I hate to say alpha, but so
those are facts. And I think in baseball it's a lot because there's only 3. I was even thinking about this. In football, you got to be 64% or higher to be good. In basketball, you got to hit 64%. 46% or higher. In baseball, bro, you just got to hit it 3 times. That's it. Out of 10.
You get 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Not even 1 out
and
of 3.
That's Hall of Fame.
1 out of 3, and you're one of the greatest players ever.
Done.
Yes.
Right? So talking about pressure and situational, that's crazy. So now,
baseball pitcher, I can't think of a more pressure-packed job other than a hockey goalie.
Facts. So maybe those are the 3: QB, goalie. And then in basketball, you think there's a real pressure position? Not really, right? Because if you miss the fucking shot, you get the ball back.
Because because all the positions do the same thing in basketball, just from a different position on the court.
So yeah, because hockey is a lot. It's on you. You're the guy. You need to stop.
It's you.
But for sure, pitcher, big game pitcher, man.
I think big game pitcher is because even you're elevated on a mound.
Right.
You know, like you gotta, I just think of all the little things.
100%.
Everybody is waiting for you as long as you want.
Right.
I remember my dad and I went to watch a Red Sox game. We saw Joe Hesketh pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And the game was the most tedious, awful thing because this motherfucker would take like 27 seconds between pitches.
Well, now they can't do that anymore because they got the clock. But that's fascinating, right? That you would just be like, hey, you waiting for me? When I'm ready, we'll go.
I'm the man.
Right.
And everybody fucking knows it. It's badass, dude.
It's pretty impressive.
It's fucking badass.
But it sucks to see the guys getting torched up there that's another thing too, right? Like they call it the fear of the pinstripes. So if you're like in fucking, I don't know, Kansas City Royal, no offense to Kansas City Royals, or San Diego Padres, how much pressure is on you, right? But when you're the big game pitcher in a huge city and all the effing lights are on you and it's ready to go time, wow.
There are so many.
I don't think I want the job.
There are so many good baseball players that came to Boston. And,
both New York and Boston, they eat your life.
And I'm sorry, dude, but you don't have what it takes to play here because you're going to think the people are fucking assholes.
Facts. Technically they are, but
they're not really. They're just being douchey.
I have a huge problem with any Bostonian fan base. They are obnoxious at some part. Even before they started winning, they were horrible. They were horrible.
They're awful.
Actually, I'm going to go on a limb here. I'll probably get crucified, but maybe this is the earlier podcast.
You should include yourself because the fucking New York mentality is
it's terrible. Listen to me.
Except
but,
you have
besides them buying
from.
championships, and I'm doing air quotes for people that can't see. Besides them buying championships, right? Everybody automatically assumes that you're a horrible fan. And so like for me, I don't even like mentioning that I'm a Yankee fan. I always lead with Jets. right? Because it's like, listen, shitty organization, shitty franchise. Don't get at me, bro.
Dude, they think of my whole fucking 6-state area as douchebags. So I embrace it. I'm a masshole. So suck my black cock. Because, I mean, that's just what it is.
I know you guys do embrace
they
it.
like it, they expect it. But it's just, it's funny because I hear this thing snowflake so much. Oh, he's a snowflake. And it's thrown around so
In what context?
And it's thrown around politically, you know? Like,
What do you mean, like you're softy?
yeah. And it's funny because compared to New England and Boston and fucking the whole country's a bunch of fucking pussy snowflakes.
Facts.
Like, you can get your feelings hurt from a stranger on the street. What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, you're crying because your boss yelled at you? You're at fucking work, you pussy. Like, there's just kind of like, I don't want to say it's an overwhelming toughness because it's not like we're willing to fight all the time, but we're kind of willing to fight all the time.
I think it's the cold. I think it's the gray. And I think it's the compacting. You know what I mean? Because I just got back from NYC, and those motherfuckers are crazy. I think that whole area. But again, also too, because of the cold, right? You get stuff in bars, right? And you become super freaking passionate about your team, and you're just obsessed, and you're fucking eyeballs to the fucking TV, and you're there every day. I mean, think about the guy that goes to the pub every day for its 162, and he just locked in, and he can tell you who's on first, who's playing second, right?
He knows if they're in a streak,
right?
He knows his guys. I was so very fortunate because I was working in a bar the year the Red Sox won the first World Series.
Was it in Boston?
I was in Plymouth.
Same shit.
South Shore.
Yeah.
So I watched probably 95 games start to finish. Okay, this was the year Pedro went into the last week of the season, and in starting September, he was 16-4.
I remember that.
With a 3.8 something, and everyone was telling me this guy's washed up. He's washed up. He's got nothing. Schilling's the starter. Oh, that was.
Well, let me tell you something. What Terry Francona
was so racist
with that team is unbelievable. Okay, because to have to deal with Schilling, I'm sure is not a walk in the park guy to kind of deal with. I'm sure, right? And then let's say Pedro. Pedro seems like a nice guy, but you know that you're gonna manage him a certain way. And then to have fucking Manny and Papi,
for him to do the whole, I guess the Yankees are my daddy thing. That's tough for a head coach. I'm sorry, for a manager. That's difficult for, and then to have in the stadium them yelling, "Who's your daddy?" when you bring out your guy who's the closer. Francona did an amazing job. Phenomenal. And he needs to get a lot of fucking credit
100%
for what he did with that team because he pulled all the right strings. One of the best things I thought he did was he made Wakefield his second starter.
Well, by the way, I've always hated when we had to face that dude. Right, so Tim Wakefield was a guy that I was always worried about because that knuckleball, man, it just had so much movement. It was so hard to hit, right? But at least for the most part, there was some good days, right? Alex took him yard a couple times.
Where it's like 11-4 in the first.
Right, there was some days, but I forget. He just won some award. We had our own version of that. I forget what the pitcher's name was at the time, but we had our own guy, and I remember
Phil Negro.
No,
he pitched for the Yankees for a little bit. Yeah.
Well, it was another player. I should look it up, but I just remember I've never, even to this day, there's only one guy I've ever seen step into the fucking box that I was like, man, we're so fucked right now. Manny Ramirez. That is a dangerous. Like, think about it right now. There's nobody that I'd pitch to everybody. I would even pitch to Barry Bonds when Barry Bonds was going yard. Right. I would not pitch to Manny Ramirez.
I have to say something to everyone that loves Big Papi.
I gotta hear this.
Big Papi saw so many great pitches.
Facts.
Because of the nightmare.
Are you kidding me? For sure. 100%. Let me tell you something. When I first seen Papi, two things. When I first seen Papi and he was hitting and he was like this lovable, likable character, I went and I looked up his Minnesota Twins fucking record. He hit, I think before he went, it could have been 2 years or 3 years. No, forget about that. 2 years or 1 year or 2 years. He hit 6 home runs. Okay, 1 year. And then goes to Boston and is 40 every season. Yeah. How can you not?
Well, steroids help too.
Facts. Yeah. Okay, because that Mitchell report is bullshit.
Yeah, they're assists.
But what I'm saying is, besides the juice, having a guy like Manny Ramirez behind you, bro, are you kidding me? you know you're fucked. You can, first of all, think about the situation, right? Because baseball is situational. If you have two men on and you have Papi and Manny, who are you gonna throw to?
Yeah,
I'd rather throw to Papi, and Papi's gonna crush it. Right? And then you're going to be fucked because if he gets on base, what's going to happen?
It's like, dude, it's like, so you want to pitch to Manny with the bases loaded?
No.
Like, you say that to any manager and he starts to have convulsions.
100%.
Like,
As a fan, I was terrified of this man.
Because Manny Ramirez was the greatest right-handed hitter we ever saw.
Facts. With steroids or without steroids, he's an animal.
I don't really... I assume that all major league players...
Facts, 100%. But I'm just saying, like, if you were on the fence or not.
Hey, whatever.
Listen, let me tell you something. I wish I would have taken some juice and ended up with one $250 million contract. Exactly. Just one time. Exactly. Even if I made 25 mil. You're talking about generational money, bro.
Even if I only made the league minimum for 3 years. That will set you for
Facts,
life,
bro.
Dude. That's
come
$1 million.
Right.
You got 2 houses and like life expenses.
No, you need more than $1 million, bro.
Well, I'm thinking back when it was like $300,000, but
you need more than that too, because once these fools start, because that's the one thing, man. Being in the sports industry for a smidge at a time, right. There's a lot of hands waiting to collect. You got to pay this full 33%. You got to pay your taxes. If you're in fucking Boston, New York, California, you're paying higher taxes. Everybody's trying to take your money. You know what I mean? And I think it's interesting that it hasn't played that much effect in people wanting to go to Miami, wanting to go to Texas.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm like, give me all my money. I want all of it.
But having Manny Ramirez hitting behind you is like, and this is what frustrates me about people that tell me baseball's boring, because they don't understand
Right,
that.
They don't know.
You know, they don't understand that the pitches this guy's getting and the location and the selection all has to do with the guy in the on-deck circle.
It's crazy because, like, for me, I'm never bored. My biggest pet peeve, and we got to go. I'll take you to the game this year. Not that I have any juice, but we'll go together.
Right.
I hate when I go to a game or I'm watching a game and someone wants to talk to me. I'm like, listen, bro, I need to watch the balls and strikes, okay? So I can understand what this fool is trying to do against this mofo. Yeah, and that's the battle. And it's so interesting to me. For me, I told you this a couple of days ago. It only takes me a couple questions to ask you or a couple of statements for you to tell me whether you're a good sports fan or not. The moment you tell me that baseball's boring, I'm like, I'm done. I don't need to talk to you anymore because you're an idiot.
You're a fucking moron.
Yeah, it's done.
You know why baseball is great? Because baseball is a game of anticipation.
100%.
It's like you're this close to busting a fucking nut. And that, it's that's the great thing about hockey. Is like you wait, and then the entire arena explodes together. And baseball is a game of anticipation. Here's the 3-2 pitch, game on the line. It's fouled back. Let's do it again.
And battling. It's funny. I would rather watch a 0-0 baseball game than watching a 0-0 hockey game.
Absolutely.
Because it's just too much back and forth. I feel like the shorter time between the ball coming back, him taking his 20 seconds to regather and go is a little bit faster in my mind than I try to watch hockey. It's a different sport by a long shot.
The pitcher against the batter it's
unbelievable. It's probably one of the greatest matchups. The only thing that I could compare it to is like tennis, because you got one guy versus another guy and they are both locked in. And now with all of the stuff that they're learning, right? I mean, you literally got guys in the dugouts with tablets because guys are so fast, chopping up the video of your last at bat.
Oh, I also wanted to say the reason that you want to watch, how you said you really like to watch the pitch thing, the sequence of the pitches. They need to start putting that box up with the pitches. That needs to be standard.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's collusion. It's collusion. You know why it's collusion? Think about this. How many times you see a ball that's a ball and they call it a fucking strike and they don't even show the replay and they skip it?
Yeah.
Or they like all that stuff where we're at right now, you should have that shit every second. That's why the NFL, in my opinion, has soared because of replay, because of different angles, because of all the analytics. Like you watch it in game. Like I don't have to go somewhere else and see it. I don't have to check ESPN and see that all the balls went here, right? They should do that every single time. It seems like they only do that for divisional games, World Series games. It's like, bro, I'm locked in. I want to see where that pitch was. I want you to show me the same way. I have a friend of mine and we play all the time. Maybe we'll get you too, because the MLB The Show, in my opinion, not only do they have a monopoly on the franchise, but it is an amazing game. It is one of the most realistic games that you can ever play. But what do I do when I'm trying to watch this fool. I right click. I don't know if it's the right left one bumper or the
Right.
second bumper. I'm pulling up the screen. What you throw me, bro? Where you at? You went 1, 2, 3 here? All right, I'm gonna sit low, or I'm gonna sit high, or I'm gonna wait. Once I see
You gotta throw me the fastball eventually, dude. It's 3-2.
it's facts, bro.
Yep.
It's facts, right?
Like,
And so I agree with you. I wish that they did that more, but we haven't even really touched on it, and we wanted to get into it. Besides the stealing of the signs, besides them fucking Pete Rose, besides them, to me, on plain principle, not only should Pete Rose get in, every juicer should get in, because the fact that managers and GMs
Thank you.
knew
And owners.
what the fuck was
And
going
owners.
on and had
Yep.
like
And
dossiers on this guy's better with or without. Come on, man. You're crazy.
I was 14
know.
years old.
You know.
I was 14 years old, and I knew Jose Canseco was using steroids.
My guy, he probably had the biggest biceps on the fucking
Like,
planet. There's
how
no
am I-
way.
How am I?
Mark McGuire, too. You see Mark McGuire's arms?
I got 3 hairs on my balls at this time, and I have figured out the fucking mystery that these guys are cheating.
So to me,
And all of a sudden, the ball starts leaving.
so this is my thing. Baseball, they get good, man. Like, this is what happens. You have 162 games. No one watches. And then the playoffs happen, and everybody gets glued in. And then it's amazing baseball. And they do all this great coverage. And then they figure out some way in the offseason to fuck everything up. Almost every few years they do it. Every few years. Because baseball, I mean, even though I wasn't a Houston fan, and for whatever they did, it was exciting. But it seems like now, every time something's exciting, I'm like, there's something up, right? I can't even watch baseball
Right,
without thinking
right.
like,
I understand what
you know
you're
what I mean?
saying.
Okay,
Yeah,
so boom.
anytime you see greatness,
Right.
someone's
So
cheating.
watch this. Facts. To this year, I think the number, and it's somewhere north of
That's such a
6,500.
sad thing for a
Crazy
fan to say.
100%.
That's like,
Come on. What other sport? You don't think of any other sport like
dude,
that?
If I were an MLB manager and I heard you say that, I would fucking sell all my stock and get a new job.
Bro, that's why their numbers are down, bro, in my opinion. It has nothing to do with people in the game. I know so many guys that like baseball. I know so many people that play fantasy. I know dudes that played in the game. It's the fact that every time they clean their face, they get another smudge. And they clean it and another smudge. This time is stealing signs. A couple of years ago was this. To me, they totally juiced the balls. Okay?
Yeah,
There's
they
somewhere
juiced-
north of 65,000 home runs last year.
Dude.
That number is so crazy.
It's not the first time they juiced the ball.
Oh, of course. Of course. But this is the problem. I'm telling you, MLB, in my opinion, just they got some stuff going on in the back.
They're slimy,
Yeah.
basically. They're a
Yes.
slimy league.
100%.
And
they like to
it
talk a
doesn't
lot.
feel good.
No.
Yeah, and they talk all this shit about tradition, and it doesn't feel good
Nope.
to follow tradition of a
Nope.
slimy, hypocritical league. And you make a good point there. You know,
it bothers me to my core.
But you have to remember, man, that the NBA got caught shaving points in the Jordan era with.
Sure. I totally get that, but it seems
but
like it's
one smudge.
right.
They're better
right?
at. They're
These
better at-
motherfuckers are just like
They're better at
processing, and it sucks when it comes from the higher ups, right? Like
Way
so the
fewer
NFL.
players, too.
What's up?
There's way fewer players in basketball.
Right, but to me, like the NFL always gets like a the black eye because most of these dudes are minorities. Most of them come from poor areas, and most of them have records. Okay,
Well, it's a
In my
violent
opinion-
game. You need violent people to play a
but
violent
sure,
game.
but they talk shit about it, right? And they try to make baseball players be upstanding guys. I think they are, but I think the owners and the executives are the ones that are ruining this game.
They're
because,
slimy.
Yes, it sucks, and it
They're
sucks.
slimy because, and what gives them their slime is their greed.
Facts.
They know that people are cheating.
They should just chill. They should just chill, bro. Like it's a great game. It really, really is.
Yeah.
On
People will
merit,
show- Americans will
facts.
show up.
Yes,
Will show up.
I was listening to this thing today
It's
where
like
it was
18
talking
bucks
about
to
like
go to a fucking game. I'll
right,
show up.
right, right, and I can like sneak down and maybe get some good seats.
Like,
right, it depends on what market I'm in. I mean, if I'm in New York or Boston, a fucking Budweiser costs $25.
And
but
the seat costs $2,500.
no. But you can still get in the building fairly cheap.
Yeah.
Okay, the building, getting in the building is the easiest part. But when you just see that the product is good, stop trying to go for the 80% of people and just focus on that 20, and that 20 will expand. Because there's moments where I feel like they're touching the NFL, and then they do shit like this, and it's like womp womp womp, and then everybody's like, "Fuck
I
this
mean,
game."
dude, what I don't know is it's like if you're a player on one of those teams, what do you do?
I don't know. I mean, first of all, that's why I hate it. I almost knocked some fool out over that Houston shit. Because
do you really feel good if you're on the team? If you know,
well, maybe you do. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. If you're not cheating, you're trying, right?
But dude, like, this is different. This ain't like getting a little more shredded in the off season, training hard. I can rationalize that. Dude, I'm not really cheating. I'm just getting fucking shredded.
Right.
Like, I'm maximizing the size of my meat suit.
Facts.
I still got to hit the fucking ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hitting it a little higher. I'm hitting like 2, 3, 4. Just do one more home run a month. That's all I'm getting from the power.
Sure.
Really. But when you're like, fastball. Dude, that changes everything.
Yeah.
Because when I played baseball,
Everybody fucking talks shit about the Patriots. Are
the
you kidding
thing
me?
that killed me was the changeup, dude.
Facts.
Because
And if you're a power pitcher, right? That I throw you 100, and then I throw you 85.
it's brutal.
Bro, you already got used to hitting that shit in the speed time. And for
And
you
now
to
I'm waiting for it. I'm gonna pull something.
That's why I've always said if I was ever a baseball player, I would never hit the fastball.
You just
I would hit all speed stuff.
just only hit off.
That's
speed.
it.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck if he struck me out.
Just the timing, yeah. So
Because
that-
that's automatic bomb. If I hold it back, and that's the thing, it looks so delicious, right? You just like, I'm gonna crush this and nothing. You just swing in that air because it just boop, the string comes out on the ball and you're done. With the
Hey,
fastball, I feel like it's easier to hit, and that sounds crazy because one of the hardest things they've ever
Well,
said
if
to
you- all you
do,
gotta do is time it.
but the hardest thing to do according
Is hit a round ball with a round bat.
right. But for me, because there's so many other dudes, I would focus on that because you don't have that many pitchers that throw 100. I mean, maybe now you've seen a rise of that, but I mean, the better pitchers have great sliders. The better pitchers have splitters. The better pitchers have
They have a
changeups.
rounded game.
Yeah. So like, why am I focusing on one pitch that, you know what I mean? Like,
that's what made Maddox great.
right.
Was his fastball never hit more than 90.
You talk about Tim Wakefield. That was another fool. He threw like his knuckleball was 84 and his speed
He
of his,
actually had 3 pitches.
but his fastball was like 86 miles an hour. It wasn't that much faster, right?
I had a nickname for one player in Boston that was not very good. I come up with a lot of nicknames, and
I do too, but it depends on how much I like you.
let me see whose nickname in Boston was bad. I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
What during the Papi Manny era?
Yes.
Who was bad on that team?
Oh, I don't know. I got too stoned.
It couldn't be Johnny Damon.
No, Johnny Damon completely redeemed himself. Johnny One Pitch.
There you go. See, I knew I helped you with the Johnny, huh?
He
Look at
definitely
that.
Did. I fucking hated Jonathan Papelbon as our closer.
Oh my God. Well, he was
Because-
a cocksucker too on the low. He was
Because-
obnoxious.
Because that was his nickname. He was Johnny One Pitch. He thought this motherfucker has some nerve. You got some fucking nerve, you country fuck. Listen, there's only one player in the history of this game that got away with throwing 2 pitches.
One is
The fastball and the other's the cut fastball.
right.
And that's Ramirez.
There you go.
No one else can do that. You need 3 pitches.
For sure.
You need a third pitch.
100%.
You have to throw
Axel Ronas
fastball.
Chapman. Come on.
You have to throw fastball, changeup, curveball, or fastball slot. You need 3 fucking pitches. John Papelbon only threw fastballs. You watch him.
But you know what? Getting back to what I was saying, because I listen to a lot of different things, and I feel like that's a coach situation. Because some of these coaches, they see these guys and they're like, "What's your best pitch? Don't worry about anything else. Just throw your best
No.
pitch." And a lot of them navigate their players. This is again speculation potentially, but from what I hear, they want you to double down on what you're good at, basically. Right. And the better pitchers, right? We've heard hundreds of stories when they develop that other pitch, that's the sneaky shit that you don't even know, right? When I have an arsenal, you can say whatever you want about Kershaw, but regular season, the man is filthy. Why is the man filthy? He's got 5 different pitches he can toss at you. He
All
can
for
throw 3
strikes.
pitches, and then all of a sudden in the 5th inning, come on with some other stuff, and you're like, what happened? What happened?
Yes.
What's going on?
Yes. When you haven't seen a pitch yet and you're on your 3rd at bat.
But I also think too that do you think that maybe living in the Mariano facade or maybe the shadow when you're saying like you're my daddy chance and all this other stuff,
Right.
Mariano didn't have that big of an arsenal. One in the sense of he
No,
had
he
two
had 2
pitches,
pitches.
right? Pap maybe
Fastball, cut fastball.
Maybe Pat thought he was better.
2 is twice as much as 1.
Right.
Are you twice as good as Mariano?
But I find that also interesting too because Jason Varitek, I think in his history, might have caught in 3. This is just on the top of my head. No hitters, and he usually was in the game. So if anybody was calling it, I don't think Pap would have shook him off. Right. So maybe Varitek felt like there was something. See, these are the other things about pitchers too, right? Because you got a catcher. If he's a seasoned veteran, he's taking the lead. Okay,
Durham, of course.
Yeah, you're like, listen, Papi, check this out.
That's what he's supposed to do.
Right. What's so funny? I wish I could photograph it every time. What I mean, every time I see this, I'm like, that's a home run, and usually it's a hit. For the most times I see a pitcher shake off a catcher,
is bad news for him.
Facts. You're done, son. This guy's been sitting down on this shit for days, looking at all of this stuff. And you're going to shake this guy off? This guy's been in the building for how long? And you what? Okay. Sure. Go with that.
Shaking your head. You got an itch?
Well, you're all right.
You got an itch?
I mean, and so, that's a thing I think
if
also comes into the argument.
If you have good management, you throw what the pitcher calls.
Facts.
If you
like I said, listen, Jorge Posada was a great catcher.
Sure.
But I don't think he was a dominating, like, defensive, not defensive, that's the wrong word to say, but like someone who was, there was so many great pitchers on the Yankees that I feel like the Yankees pitchers kind of took a little bit more. But when Jason Varitek told you something, there's no arguing. I told you the guys caught almost, maybe it'd be 3+ no-nos. You know how hard is it to fucking throw a no-no? And usually it's
obnoxiously hard.
Right. So, these are the subtle nuances, right? And we're talking shit on this podcast, but these are the subtle nuances that I think that smart fans don't understand. There's so many fucking moving parts to things that you don't understand. For example, if you want to go to the quarterback, right? The quarterback could have threw a perfect pass, could have called the perfect play. Fucking Whiteout ran the wrong route.
Or
the offensive lineman didn't block.
Or slipped half a step.
Whatever, right? And the same thing with baseball, right? The guy shook him off. Fucking home run. Game over. We walk it off. Bat flip and everything. Yeah. We're all in the building. And these are the things. There's just so much more. Even basketball, the guy that just doesn't pass the rock, but his position is point guard. It's like, wait a minute. Aren't you supposed to facilitate the other players on the team? Right?
Are you talking about anyone in particular there? Rough.
Well, I could say Kyrie, but I don't even know. But at the end of the day, I'm just saying, right? Like, there's a lot of things. It's called the team sport for a reason. I think that's why, for me, expanding my sports knowledge, I've always found tennis interesting because there's nobody in your fucking ears, just you and your own mind, and more so golf. Because golf, I've played street games. Okay, I've hit a basketball in one time. Mm-hmm. I've by luck hit a baseball,
right?
And I've caught a pass. To see how these guys are scrutinized so difficultly, and that's not even a word, but just being under a microscope, it's just so hard to see that it's a team sport, and in golf, it's so hard to hit that ball, bro. Right? And it's you, bro. It's you. And it's so crazy when your mind gets with you, you're your own worst enemy.
Yep. There's no defender. There's no one trying to stop you. Mm-hmm. You have as much time as you need.
Yep.
And it's the same stroke every time.
Yep. It's crazy.
Welcome to golf.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much for fucking spending time with us, brother. Coming out, it's good times. We definitely got to have you back again. The banter was unbelievable. I'm really glad you came out. What do you got?
A little circular. Thanks for bringing me back here because I had a couple of, I got a little lost in space, but I had a couple of things that I wanted to
touch on,
get back to, and we were able to get back to most of them.
Yeah, I got it, bro. I was focused. Yeah, I don't think the host should be blowing trees, but that's just my idea.
The guest,
Yeah, you do what you got to do. I mean, I gotta get more in the rhythm of a Rogan where I can be lit as fuck and still be able to,
That'll be after you get some reps.
Right. Yeah, of course. That's all it is. That's all it is. And
I'm really thinking about this sumo thing. I've started thinking about it pretty seriously because think about it. One guy, if you can get one guy to sign a league minimum contract, 10% of that is $38,000.
The only thing is that the investment is scouting dudes in Japan and getting the contacts to go and have these fools. But I agree. I think it's
G's.
Bro, listen, I'm all in. Right. Okay.
And then if you get that guy and say he's good, which I think these guys are I'm telling you, dude. It's the
You know what I
It's
think
the
also too,
mental.
and we'll dip it on this. You know what I also think is a problem too is the system, right? So unless you're drafted, you have to make the team through the supplement draft and the walk-on
They're gonna
situation,
have to be free agents,
and
Yep.
it's convincing a GM that
To
a
give me
project,
shot. Yep. Hey, I got a guy for you, boss. Who the fuck are you?
right?
I'm Brandon Rose. Nice to
Right.
meet you.
I think if you can build some momentum with some other players, then maybe. But it's a
think
good
there's-
as boy league, man. Like
I think there's a lot of very, very, very talented linemen that are. I look at these guys. The blonde guy, Phil Sims, Chris Sims always says, I look at butts and ass. That's what I look at. I look at legs and ass. And when I look at those sumo wrestlers, I'm just seeing a gigantic muscle with legs this thick on a 600-pound man. 600-pound man.
it's unbelievable.
That's too.
Listen, I get you, bro. I'm down. Listen, we need to get him on the Jets. That's for sure.
So, but then, okay, so, but
Maybe that's the market. You got to look for like shitty teams that'll be open. So everybody, thank you so much for coming out. Thanks, Brandon. I really appreciate you stopping by. We're gonna get you back in the building, and hopefully the
around.
next time we talk, you might have your first sumo free agent.
my first sumo recruit. All
All right,
y'all. Be
thank
good.
you.